All right. So we're picking up distinct, talking about distinct here. And right, this whole time we've been talking about things that are different, things that are easier to tell apart from other things because they are distinct. Like what we talked about here earlier in the game is foods. I think food's one of the most distinct things. Like if you blindfold me and have me taste different foods, you could probably tell what they were. Like something that's distinct to me that I hate, besides like warm pie, apple pie is gross. Dude, applesauce, bro, ugh. Applesauce tastes like an apple vomited, it's disgusting. It's this weird texture that's so distinct and nasty, and like coconut. I love the way coconut tastes. The texture, disgusting. Mushrooms, I like the way they taste. The texture of them, it's gross. There's things that are distinct. And food, and we specifically talk about food today. I think it's a good thing that our food has a different variety and it's available for us to eat because some foods, right, give us some essential vitamins. Some foods are good for us to eat. They give us essential, it's what we need to survive. Other foods give us things that aren't so good. One of the things that you probably shouldn't eat, but it's delicious, Taco Bell. Taco Bell is not good for you. But should you eat it? Yes, because it is delicious. Taco Bell is not one of the foods that is essential for us. Like if we didn't have a variety of foods to choose from, food would just be boring. Some of us might be malnourished too because we're not eating the proper foods that we need to eat. Food serves a distinct purpose. Food has a distinct purpose. And the fact that those purposes are different, I think is actually a good thing. So how many of you guys have ever been a part of a team before? Sports team, dance team. How many of you guys have been part of a team before? What was your role? What was your distinct role on the team? Someone just shout it out. What was your role? Bench warmer. Bench warmer. Whether you've been a part of a sports team, a debate team, a leadership team, or cast in a play, this is true. On a team, everybody has a distinct role, even the bench warmer, right? Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. But if we're honest, sometimes we're less than thrilled about the roles that we're given. Sometimes we can be less than thrilled the roles that we're given. I remember at this church I grew up in, they always did this Christmas play. And I liked being a part of it. I like singing. I like acting. And for the past several years we've done this, I've always got one of the main roles. There's always been 2 or 3 main roles. And I remember this one year of sophomore in high school, and I didn't get the main role. I was cast as a side character. Yeah, right? And I was mad because I wanted to be the spotlight. I wanted to be the main character. But in all distinctness, that side role character was right up my alley. It was perfect role for me to play. I think the lie sometimes we believe is that the quality, skills, and interests that make us distinct aren't the best or more important things. Instead of seeing the value of the unique things that we already contribute, we instead wish we can contribute something else. So instead of just being content with our unique role, instead of me being content with the role I was given in that church play, we get jealous of these other roles. We get jealous of these other people and the skills and the roles that they get. But what if I told you the idea that some skills, abilities, or roles are better or more important than others is a lie? The idea that some skills and abilities and roles are better or more important than others is a lie. The best role for you to play is a distinct role that only you can play. By playing your role to the best of your ability, you can help change the world around you. We've been talking about what this word distinct means. First, Brian brought us in. We talked about how Jesus is distinct because he's unlike anyone that has ever lived on the face of this earth. He was literally God in human form. He was God with a bod. Second, right, we talked about how you and I are made distinct because we were made by God. And today I want us to think about what we can do with our distinctness. So we should understand, number one, that God is distinct. Second thing is to understand that he made us distinct with certain qualities, with certain talents, certain desires, certain passions. And today I want us to talk about what we can do with our distinctiveness. So there's this guy named Paul who wrote a lot of the New Testament of the Bible. We talk about him a lot in here, read a lot of what he had to say. Paul had this pretty unique faith journey. Before he started following Jesus, like, this guy hated Christians. He was opposed to Christianity. Like, he would literally chase down and murder Christians, throw them in prison. But then he had this encounter with Jesus that literally changed his whole direction of his life. When he realized Jesus was actually who he said he was, Paul made it his mission to tell everybody that would listen. Paul's distinct mission from God had two parts. The first one is he had to help spread the good news of Jesus throughout the world. He had to. He knew that he had to spread the message of the Messiah. The second thing was to help faith communities who are already following Jesus continue to grow deeper. Paul was chosen by God to help lead these early churches, to lead this early Jesus movement and guide local faith leaders. So here's one of the things Paul wrote to one of those faith communities. This is the church in Corinth. So he was addressing some things that were going on inside of that church. So 1 Corinthians 12, 1 through 11. Now about the gifts of the Spirit, brothers and sisters, I do not want you to be uninformed. You know that when you were pagans, non-believers, somehow or other you were influenced and led astray to mute idols. Therefore, I want you to know that no one who is speaking by the Spirit of God says Jesus is cursed, and no one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Holy Spirit. There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and everyone it is the same God at work. Now to each one of the manifestations of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one, there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom, to another a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another one healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another distinguishing between spirits, to another speaking in types of tongues, and to still another interpretation of tongues. All of these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determined. In Corinth, it seems as though people were struggling with their roles in the church. There were some distinct gifts, talents, and roles that were being evaluated as if they were better than others. That led to jealousy. It led to hurt feelings. It led to division in these first churches. But Paul knew God had created everyone for certain things. He made them distinct. And it was literally a tragedy for anyone who would ignore this God-given distinctiveness because they didn't think it was good enough. Paul also knew that no one in that community was more important than the other. But because they had elevated certain gifts as more important, they had also begun to evaluate certain people as more important. That was a tragedy. So Paul literally needed the church in Corinth, they needed the Corinthians to understand this. Each of your unique gifts comes from God. Even when it seems random or the gifts we receive aren't the ones that we wish that we received, God gave us our gifts on purpose for a purpose. God gave us our gifts on purpose for a purpose. So what's this purpose? Look, to answer the question, let's look at the Apostle Peter. Wrote to another church around the same time Paul was writing to the church of Corinth. So Peter was one of the very first followers of Jesus. This guy spent over 3 years walking side by side with Jesus. Peter's history with Jesus was experience that Paul didn't have, which means Peter was equipped to lead in ways that were different, but no more important than what Paul had. Peter had a history of being pretty outspoken, sometimes even hot-headed. Although this features Peter's personality, got him into trouble at times, like his passion and his enthusiasm were really important tools for spreading the gospel. So with that in mind, this other perspective, this other gift, let's see what Peter had to say about the distinct gifts God gives us. So in 1 Peter 4:10 says this, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. I think that's pretty to the point here. Like Peter reminds us that the gifts that God gave us aren't just for fun or to build up our egos. Like they're not trading cards we collect and keep hidden from the world. We put it in a box and keep it safe away from everybody. They're meant to be used to serve God, to serve others. Peter and Paul had these very different experiences, temperaments, personalities, experiences. Remember, Paul was literally like, lived this life away from Jesus, hated Christians, had an encounter with Jesus, then started preaching the gospel. Peter, like, walked alongside Jesus. I remember I grew up in the church, and this is so silly, like, thinking about it. Like I used to be jealous of the people who didn't know who God was, came to know Jesus, and had, like, this big, like, come to Jesus experience and moment. I used to be jealous of that because, like, that wasn't my story. Like, I just grew up in the church. It's like, why am I jealous of that? There's these different experiences, but Paul and Peter were both used by God in significant ways to spread the good news of Jesus all over the world, not despite their distinct gifts, but because of them. So Peter and Paul understood that their gifts are all meaningful because they can be used to help others and make a difference in the world. Because of our distinct gifts, we can all serve in distinct ways. We could all serve in distinct ways. So where do we go from here? Like, we're not Paul, we're not Peter. I mean, some of us are Peter, but not Peter in the Bible, obviously, yeah. So we may not have the gifts that we're describing here to the letters and to the church of Corinth. So how can we use our gifts to serve others around us? How can we use that? I got a couple things for us. I got this map here to help us kind of draw some things out. Number one, we have to feel it. Start by thinking about your passions. Like, dude, like, what are you good at? What are you naturally good at? What do you like? You have a lot of things that are unique about you. And so start there. Ask the question, like, what makes me excited and brings me a ton of energy? I love being on stage and teaching. On Sunday nights, on my way home, like, I am so filled up. My cup is filled. I love preaching the gospel. I love being here with y'all and hanging out. Like, that is my gift. Jack, would you be on stage? Would you like to be on stage and teach? He doesn't even poke up from behind the screen. Do you want to be up here and teach? He says no. But the stuff that this guy does for the church is awesome. All the tech stuff, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that he does, that is a gift. And that is a much-needed gift. And we cannot do what we do on Sunday mornings and Sunday nights without Jack. Everyone turn around and say, thanks, Jack. Yeah, he's like, I can't believe you. Sorry, bud. But see, there's a distinctness that we have these certain gifts. And so feel it. Like, understand what you're good at, what you're passionate about. And if you're unsure, maybe ask someone around you. Like, what do you see in me? Like, what's something I love? Like, have someone you trust around you answer that for you. The second thing is you have to own it. Like, you have to believe distinct things can happen through your distinct relationship with Jesus and the distinct gifts he has given you. You have to believe that. So what do you do? What do you need to own right now? Do you need to believe that your gifts are valuable? That God can use you? That you matter? That person that you're jealous of right now, their gifts are not as important as yours? Like, what do you need to do? You got to feel it. You got to own it. Then you got to try it. Like, if you want to use your gifts to serve others, the solution is often easier than we think it is. Like, you just have to try something. Like, go do it. Go do it. Write some things down that you want to try. I want to serve at a local homeless shelter. I want to go help an elderly couple in the church do yard work or housework. I want to go serve at, ABC, whatever. Go do it. Try things out. After you try something, like, you might realize it's not for you. And that's okay. Again, you're finding your niche. You're finding what you feel called to do. So try things out. Maybe you guys want to be here on stage. Maybe you guys would love to host announcements in a game. Come talk to me. I'll get you on stage. Maybe some of y'all want to teach. And y'all here feel called into ministry? Let's get you up here. Let's get you up here teaching. Fourth thing is you have to improve it. When you found something that seems like it's working, dig in deeper. Get better at it. Like, some of us have natural gifts, right? Like LeBron James, naturally gifted at basketball. The dude never stops working on his game. Tom Brady, that guy is always, I don't like Tom Brady, all right? But the guy is a GOAT in football. Like, literally, when he's done on offense, he will go to the bench and he will grab that tablet and he will start looking at plays and watching himself going, we could have done this. Oh, I could have done this. Let's do this next time. Like, he's studying to get better. The dude's already at the top of his game, and he still wants to get better. Like, we have to do that. We have to improve on it. So get better at those skills. Maybe surround yourself with some people that are good at those skills. Get better at it. And the fifth thing is live it out. Live it. Like, sometimes we can get so caught up in preparing to do something that we actually never do it. Like, the idea of that sounds great. Like, I want to end racism. Cool, go do it. Do something about it. You have to live it out. We can't hide behind our plans or our big visions. Don't get stuck in that trap. Write down what you want to do. Be specific with something that you want to do with your distinct gifts, and then go do it. And don't let these ideas never make it out of this room. Share them with people in your small groups. Talk about them tonight. Maybe figure out. Maybe some of you are struggling. Talk about it in your small groups. What a great place to ask questions like, man, what am I good at? What do you see in me? Maybe you guys know what you want to do. Maybe in your small groups, then it's, help me improve. What can I do better? What can we do better? What can we do as a group? Or better yet, man, what's a cool opportunity that we can serve together as a small group? That would be awesome. See how the small groups go out and serve our community. Like, don't let these ideas make it out of the room. When we respect one another's differences and learn from each other's unique giftings, we become the church that we were meant to be. We were all made distinct by our Creator, which is why we have to serve in distinct ways. We have to serve in distinct ways. Let me pray for us.